Welcome back to Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We are so glad you are here. And if you are the parent of a middle schooler, you're going to be really glad you're here. As you know, or maybe you don't, but in August, Melissa and I are doing a series called Nature of the Beast. And we are featuring a different back to school conversation for a specific age group each week in August. So at the time that this episode airs, we will have already dropped an episode on college kids, high school students, and today it's all about middle schoolers, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, the years of awkwardness, the years where they stop being cute, but they're not grown up, and they are just, there's so many good stories when you teach middle schoolers, but I've never met an adult who was like, sure, I'd like to go back and relive those years of my life. So we have with us a true expert in this age group. Mary Foard is a longtime middle school counselor, and she is entering her 14th year at an independent school outside of Annapolis, Maryland. The same independent school, I will say, where I used to work. Mary and I were like favorite colleagues for 11 years of Mary's 14. And also the same independent school where Melissa's kids attend and where my kids attend. So Mary has been the school counselor for my two children, and she will be for Melissa's. And these kids are in great hands. Because not only has Mary worked there for 14 years, she was a middle school teacher for 10 years. She holds a master's in clinical psychology and a master's in teaching. And in addition to her extensive education experience, she worked in a private practice as a mental health therapist for a number of years. So she is an expert in all things middle school, not to mention the mom of middle school twins. So she is swimming in these waters of the middle ground. Welcome, Mary Foard. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
And like I said, our audience is in for a treat. I happen to know from years of working with Mary behind the scenes that she is, empathetic and sharp, but also what I love most about you, Mary, is the sense of humor you bring to working with an age group you clearly love, but also get a kick out of.
Yes, that's what makes it work.
So I'm excited because my oldest will be in 6th grade this year, so entering Mary's domain.
Yes.
It's good stuff. All right. So Mary, we are talking, or we have been talking with our other guest in this Nature of the Beast series on what we can expect for kids in different age brackets. And you can break this down by 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But we're hoping that our conversation will talk about what transitions the kids go through, but also what transitions parents go through. And if you've got tips for how to navigate this middle school minefield well as a parent, we can't wait to hear them. Does that sound like a good
that sounds great
approach? Okay.
Yes.
So to begin, as you start the school year and you think about welcoming 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, what are some of the things that's on your mind or on the mind of your middle school colleagues as you bring these awkward, awesome beings into the building?
So I think what I'd like to start with is that middle school is without question my favorite time of development. And I know that it's that's a polarizing statement. But I love this group. And so I share that as perhaps a sales pitch to any parents out there who are a little concerned that they're dreading what's ahead. It can really be a beautiful time. So I wanted to just start with that. And as we welcome our middle schoolers into the hallways, that is a time of these kiddos have so much energy and they're excited and they're like puppies, right? They're just they're excited and they're looking around and wide-eyed. They are accustomed to being the top of the food chain in 5th grade, and then now they're in this larger pool, and they've got the energy but aren't quite sure what to do with it. It's really a time of opportunity, I think, for parents to start molding and guiding your values and hopefully steering your children in a direction where when they're younger, their brains just aren't developed enough as they get into middle school, they can really start thinking abstractly, and that gives you a really great opportunity.
I cannot agree more about that abstract thinking. I remember particularly seventh graders, like there's something that happens midway through seventh grades where they just like their brains, they go from being able to, it's very concrete and sort of linear to all this like hypothetical what if thinking. And as a classroom teacher, that was always fun. As a parent, it was less fun because it was a lot of like lawyering up, I felt like kids were doing.
Yes. There's a lot of lawyering up, and I will just to that point say that middle schoolers are known for having strong opinions.
Oh yeah.
They are certain that their opinion is justified and real and right. And as parents, often we are in our mind thinking like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's absolutely wrong. Or no, that's a hard no. We're not doing that. But what I would offer immediately would be that we don't need to convince our children that we are right for us to make a decision. So
whoa, hold on. That's awesome. Wait, just time out. Say it again. That is like, that's gold. We could stop the episode right here, but just say that one more time.
Okay. So our kiddos, again, they will come to us with a request, a perspective of how things should be, what they quote need, or I don't know, any variety of opinions that we may not necessarily agree with. As parents, we have got to draw boundaries, but I think the trap that sometimes parents fall into in middle school is they start explaining why the rule is the rule, or why the situation is as it is, which is important to explain, but they have this expectation that they're going to convince their child that they're correct. And if you can convince your child you're correct, that's great. Like that's extra credit, but that is not necessary to draw the line. And so, for example, what I would say to a child, or what parents I would encourage say to a child is, I know you don't agree with me, and I'm happy to explain to you why, but I'm sharing it with you as an explanation, not because I expect you to agree with me. And that I find to be very freeing, both as a parent myself, and it's worked. Other parents are receptive to it also.
It's brilliant. And
don't get into the debate because nobody's winning.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place to explain why, but right, there's nothing to win. I know you don't agree with me. That's okay that you don't agree with me. This is how we're doing it.
which maintains the connection and the authority, right, at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you give them the explanation, so it honors their ability to think on their own and to weigh these pros and cons, instead of just mandating something. You want to explain it to them, but they don't have to agree with it. They don't have to.
Right. So you can say, this is why I'm doing it. But I'm making my best decision as a parent, and that's it. I'm making the decision as the parent.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay that you don't like it. I understand it. I wouldn't like it either if I were your age.
Here we go, though.
And here we go.
Can we talk a little bit about specifics, because I've worked in middle school also, not lately, but like I started my career as a middle school teacher, and I found that there was a major difference in eighth graders, seventh graders, sixth graders. Like my favorite grade to teach was seventh grade. Yeah. Like I loved that grade, but I had other colleagues who loved eighth grade or who loved sixth grade. Like they were just really unique. Can you talk a little bit about? Can we start with eighth grade? Like if you've got an eighth grader going into the school year, what can parents expect? What do the kids go through?
Sure. I will preface this by saying the range of what's quote normal in middle school is very, very wide. So if you think of a bell curve, it's very wide. So as I go through these benchmarks, please understand that some children are going to have, they'll be on one end or the other, or maybe they'll be down the middle. And I will also say that for each of these grades, kids' development changes like quarterly. So that is there's no like set it and forget it as a middle school teacher or parent. So as an eighth grader, mood swings become, they really do become pronounced. They can become pronounced. And I know that's cliche. Everyone talks about mood swings, but it really can be a time where that can influence, especially I think a parent-child relationship. And as a parent, we just need to have some grace on that. Along those lines, they need sleep. These kids really, really need sleep. So
they still need like 10 to 12 hours of sleep at that age.
And that's just not realistic. So we have to give it to them when we can. They work so hard. I really do believe that middle school kids are doing the best they can with what they have. They are trying, and they botch it up sometimes. I mean, so do we. So everything we can do to just sort of honor and afford them as much, like, again, the sleep, the compassion, the rest. We don't want them being bums. But on the other hand, they're working hard. They do, though, I can't remember Sam, you might remember who said this. It might be Lisa D'Amour, might not be. They go into indoor cat mode where they kind of like, it's not uncommon for eighth graders to kind of pull away into their bedroom, right? And just sort of become a little reclusive. And we want to honor their privacy. But on the other hand, it's really important that we maintain connections with our kids. And that really comes with regular communication with them, rather than, I don't know, some like very like intensive indulgent weekend. It's really like the touch points in the car, after school, at dinner. Please have dinner with your children. And when they are annoyed and when they roll their eyes, that's okay. Again, we know they don't agree that they should be at that table. That's okay. They still need to be there. Just keep the touch points going with them.
So like with eighth graders, they've got they're 1 foot looking ahead to high school kind of, and they're trying on teenageryhood for size.
And they are, unless I don't even know, unless they tend, especially now with social media everywhere, the level of immersion of messaging that comes through all forms of online exposure it's just incessant. So please give your child FaceTime. They need it. They need your face, because they are constantly getting flooded with messages of who they need to be, who they should be, who they shouldn't be. And their little value system isn't set up yet. So this is like formative opportunity.
And when you say
roll their eyes the whole way.
You don't mean FaceTime like on the iPhone. You mean
no, I mean physical human to human FaceTime. Yes, thank you for the distinction. I don't mean the iPhone.
So eighth grade, we've got like the other thing, like you said when at the beginning of our conversation, that sixth graders come in and they were just top of the food chain and now they've got a reset, right? But eighth graders have reached top of the food chain in the middle.
They are top.
Yeah, and they
top.
They love that.
They love that. And with that comes a lot. It can come with a lot of bias, which again goes back to like a bias of opinions, a bias of how things should be, could be, and so forth. This applies to all grade levels, but especially eighth grade when they've kind of like been through middle school for a long time. Please do not take your child's word necessarily at face value as the canned exclusive truth.
This is why I love Mary Foard.
and I think that's true at almost every age.
Yes.
I feel like, having also like a 5-year-old at home, it's like, I'm like, oh goodness gracious, like, am I being told, or what is being said at school to like the teachers? And I feel like in middle school years, it's the same thing.
So my key recommendation for parents of middle schoolers, and I think this is just a good recommendation in general, when your child comes home with some charged statement, instead of trusting that it happened exactly as they report and then reacting accordingly, you reach out to other parties involved and you say, help me understand the context. Help me. I need some context on this. You're not saying that you don't believe your child, but what you are doing is acknowledging that there's more.
Yeah.
And that more may substantiate what your child has already said. Or it may provide you another lens. So please just understand that there's more than the way your child is seeing the world.
Mary, I can imagine some of the phone calls you've probably received over the years of someone taking what a kid said at face value and some parent who's now very charged themselves picking up the phone and calling you.
Yeah. I call that.
And then the full story comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8th graders, we got top of the food chain, and they're like, they've got this bias. They're very certain, and they're kind of waffling between middle schoolhood and got their eye on the next step. How about 7th graders?
Okay, 7th graders. The awareness of who's in, who's out, social hierarchy. Again, that drive to compare oneself to what other people are doing. Typically they see others as they're doing it better. They're this, they're that. There's a lot of comparison going on there.
Yes.
So helping our children just bring it back to what's like, don't ride the roller coaster with them. So the social drama, the social ups, the social downs. We want to be our child's like anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if you as a parent have strong feelings about this, just voice them outside of your child's like sight line and what they can hear, because you want to come back, like they're emotional enough. They don't need us like matching and raising them on that. They need us to be like the voice of reason, because their brain isn't developed yet. They can't do that on their own. They don't have the capability to regulate themselves in a way that we do. So please, especially at the 7th grade level, we want to kind of like bring them back to the center. That's probably the biggest one. And again, the social media.
I would also be worried that like some of the social drama that your kids are going through could be very triggering to some of the parents of their own past experiences. And I think if you catch that that's happening and you had a bad middle school experience, it's even more reason to kind of like pull the reins back so you don't react from a place of, a traumatic bullying experience or social drama that happened to you when you were that age. Because we've all been through middle school and this aren't.
It's not your experience. It's not your experience. Exactly. This is your child's experience. And I'm glad that we are kind of on this note right now. When our children are younger, we post cute pictures, and if something happens, we call the other parent and we work it out. I think a very innocent mistake that parents run into is that they sort of take that model and apply it when their kids are in middle school.
Oh gosh, that's social suicide.
Our children want independence, and we want to give it to them to some degree. Now is the time to start asking permission to post candid pictures of your children online. If your child comes home and they have had a fight with someone, be very careful about who you speak with about that at the adult level. Some adults are capable of handling it with discretion. Sometimes parents might feel a little more reactive, or even with the trying to do the right thing, they'll bring it up with their own child, and then it circles back.
Yes.
And it makes it worse.
The drama that it creates is worse.
Yes. Talking, conversations. I remember when our girls were young, we would, sit around and have conversations about like other kids and our kids and comparing and all of that. Please don't do that at the middle school level. It doesn't work well for anybody. We need to really honor that autonomy and that privacy.
I am speaking of like of like changing how you talk in middle school. I went to my kids went to the school where I worked, and one time my son um, got in trouble repeatedly for things, and like there was a policy which doesn't exist anymore. I'm happy to
Mhm.
report that like kids who had a clean disciplinary record by the end of the year like got to participate in a party, and if you
Oh.
didn't you had to like watch from afar essentially. And I didn't love that policy, which again has been changed. And so I muttered something at my dinner table when I was just Sam Straub. I wasn't Mrs. Straub.
Yes.
And I said, "Oh, don't worry. Like, I'll send cupcakes for you and the rest of the screw ups, something like that to my son." Well, my son's voice is very loud, and he told his screw up friends at the lunch table, like, "My mom's going to be sending cupcakes on party day." And the
Oh,
middle
no.
school head approached me and was like, "I understand you're planning to send cupcakes on whatever day." And I was like, "Oh dear, like, okay, I'm not really going to do that." And I said that as a mom, not as an employee. And also, I don't think this party's a good idea pedagogically. Like, it was just such an awkward conversation because my own like personal life and professional life collided. And my middle school son did not have the discretion to keep like what I
No,
said as a mom quiet. It
nope,
absolutely went to school with him.
nope.
And they're
Same.
not
And,
going
and
to.
Sam, I think that is a brilliant illustration. Along those lines, please don't make comments about other people's children's like haphazard in the car or something, because it gets back to them.
Yeah.
It's just a different playing field when they're in middle school.
Yeah.
We got to be a little bit more careful, a little more discreet.
I also find that middle schoolers or seventh graders, like they're like those who like playing around with witty things and like quick wit. They start like one-liner comebacks.
Yeah.
They start doing this in person and online, those who have access. And I kind of recommend like limiting the access, but like it's that can be very funny and can be off-putting all at the same time.
Yes. Seventh grade in particular is where kids really start experimenting with sarcasm.
Yeah.
Some are born with it. Some don't really understand it until they're much older. But that is where I see it really becoming like on display. And, sometimes these kids, I would say more often than not, if they make a sarcastic comment and it's hurtful, they don't intend for it to land as hard as it did. So we always differentiate between someone's intent in their words and actions and then the impact of their words and actions. Those are different. And humor is one of my very favorite things about middle school. I think that's really what keeps me coming back year after year, is that they are so, so funny. And if you can jump on board with that as a parent, not only will I think your experience as a parent be smoother, but you'll just have you have a good time. But yeah, we need to be careful with the sarcasm and let them understand. Again, like the way you are sarcastic with like your good buddy, don't do that with someone you just met. Like, you need to build that up.
Right.
You can't like lead with it.
Well, they're still like learning all the social skills
Yes.
and norms, and since it is kind of like an awkward age, they just don't know.
They don't know, and they're all figuring out at the same time. So they're like banging into each other,
Literally
Embrace.
and socially, right?
Yeah.
physically and figuratively. They bang
Right.
into
Like
each other.
every middle school boy, when he entered the classroom, like jumps up and tries to touch the top of the
Yes.
like the top of the door frame. That was like
And I feel like they're just so awkward because their physical growth, like literally, they'll have these like 3-4 inch like growth spurts, so they don't even know what to do with their body anymore.
No, they have no sense of space because they change all the time.
yeah. I used to call them like baby giraffes.
They're
So
like
many
baby
limbs.
giraffes.
Yeah. Okay, so sixth grade, we've got the first year of middle school. This is a huge transition.
Okay. So they are.
This is right where I'm at right now.
So some come in like terrified and wide-eyed. Others feel like they should be in eighth grade already. Again, there is a wide range of how kids feel about middle school. So wherever your child lies within that realm, it is normal.
Right. I remember in middle school, like there were kids still playing with dolls.
Yeah.
And there were kids, this was like who were like making TikToks in their spare time for
Yes.
like, because they wanted to be an influencer of some sort.
Yes. And some do, and many do both.
Uh-huh.
Like they still have like their childness about them, but they have this like aura, this like they present as more mature or, worldly than they are. But okay, so as a parent, your child's job in middle school is to learn how to learn. So understand how they personally learn. They need to understand the fundamentals of social interactions. Again, some kids are born with it. Some kids, they just get it. Other kids, it takes some practice and some awareness. I will also say that for children, particularly those with ADHD, it's even more difficult because they miss the cues.
Yeah.
They think they really do think they understand it, and what they've taken in, they do understand, but there's a lot going past them that this doesn't register with them. So if as a parent, we can tune into where our child is currently on that like big bell curve, academically, emotionally, cognitively, our goal is to move them along incrementally. And please stay level. Don't ride the roller coaster. At least in front of them, don't ride the roller coaster.
What do you find with like when sixth graders show up? Like, let's say they're on a roller coaster. You've got either the terrified one or the one they're like,
Yes.
oh yeah, middle school, I can't wait. Like I'm so cool now, or whatever version they are, right?
They're still carrying the confidence from being at the top of elementary school.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Right. So, like, when do the kids settle in versus when do parents, like, who are first-time middle school parents, like, is there a difference in their transitions?
All right. So that's another little shift in parenting from when our kids are young. Your children will settle in well before you do. If you do not understand what's happening at school, you don't understand who the people are, you don't understand the schedule, you don't understand what now suddenly 6 different teachers are telling your child versus like one homeroom. For you as a parent, that is normal. And your child will get it well before you do. And then when there is a confusion over what's happening, who said what the excitement is, what you do is you contact an adult who knows. And you say, give me some context. This is what my child is saying. Help me understand. So I encourage you to reach out for context, and please encourage your kids to do the same thing too. Eventually, we want our children to be able to ask teachers for extra help or raise their hand and say, I don't get it, or go up to them after class because it's too intimidating during class and say, I don't understand what's happening. We want them to do that. And so our job is to like walk next to them and encourage them down that road, rather than being like, I got it, I'll take care of it. And that doesn't do them any favors. It's efficient on our end, right? Just to handle it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's easier. Our kids, it feels good in the moment, but in the long term, when we can, we really want to guide our kids along to do for themselves.
And also when parents swoop in like that for something that's age appropriate, like if it's above the kid's pay grade, right? Like if
100%.
there's bullying or things like that, parents do need to, if there's a safety concern. But if this is just like, I didn't understand a concept, that's a completely normal kid related issue that they face. And so when we swoop in as parents and save the day on a kid related issue, what we teach them is you're not capable of handling issues that are common for your age group. You need to do that.
Yes. And school is supposed to be hard. If it were easy all the time, they'd be in the wrong grade. So they're not supposed to understand it all the time. We want it to be challenging, not to the point where they're overwhelmed and burnt out. Like we definitely don't want that. But ideally, we want them challenged, and we want them a little bit like perplexed, and we want them thinking analytically. Like sit back and enjoy that for them. Or you can just say like, what are you don't understand that? Well, what do you think? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? Instead of telling them what to do.
I also love what you just said, is school's supposed to be hard, because sometimes like when we would get like kids who had gone through middle school, either like rocking everything, right? And then they like in high school, it was really a bit of a comeuppance. And some kids, when they encountered something that was hard, they interpreted that as like, well, nothing's supposed to be hard for me, so I must suck in some way.
Yes.
And so if we can say, no, like learning is about struggle. And if you can appreciate the feeling of struggling as a marker of learning, that's a huge service for your child down the road.
Yes. And take small opportunities to let them learn. If they forget their coat, or I'll tell you what I see more is they refuse to wear a coat when it's like a wind chill of, I don't know, like -50. They're like, oh my God, it was so cold today. You're like, yeah, I bet that was cold. Or like, oh, Mom, I forgot my lunch today. Can you bring it in? Like, no, I can't. What are you going to do? Like, how else can you? Oh, wow. Like, well, how else can you get food? Or like, I can't run it in today. I mean, it's okay. You're not going to just cut your kid off cold turkey in the first day of 6th grade. But after a while, it's okay if they struggle. It's okay if they're cold one day. It's okay if they forget their lunch, because kids have a ton of food and they share it and they trade it. And much gets thrown out anyway. Like, it will work out. Let them work it out. They will be okay and better for it.
It will work out. That may be like that. I feel like every middle school should, have a flag that says it will work out.
It does. And it should.
The other thing I'm thinking about 6th graders, Mary, is that they still, like, the amount of like energy, I would imagine that a bunch of 6th graders, just physical energy that they bring into a school building, because these are kids that are still used to going out for recess and playing, and there is still that like kind of childhood part of them. So honestly, I think they're kind of hard to keep up with sometimes.
They are hard to keep up with. They have so much energy. And so the more we can provide opportunity for them to move around and run around, the better they'll be, the stronger our relationships will be with them. Yes, they are so energetic. And 8th graders, by 8th grade, they're like generally sluggish.
That's because they're not getting enough sleep.
In part, yes. Yes. So it is like, you see this peak of energy in 6th grade, and then it kind of like declines as the middle school goes up. But yeah, it's a beautiful time of life that I find. It is a slingshot, though. I mean, lower school, elementary school, that's 5 years. And then you've got middle school and it's 3. And so much development happens. It's a lot.
And any kid or parent who's in Mary's orbit is lucky to be there. But I hope that our listeners have benefited a little bit from your wisdom. As if you are a parent entering, your kids entering middle school, I hope you've got something. There were so many nuggets to take away from this conversation about just things to bear in mind, as well as concrete strategies for parents to use. So thank you, Mary, for joining us, and thank you for doing what you do, and for loving middle schoolers, because it's not an easy age to love, and we need people on this planet who will promote the glow around.
More Marys needed.
More Marys needed. All right, so that's the nature of the beast, middle school edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you also for being a listener to Parenting Shrink Wrap. Thank you for raising the next generation of world changers. We love you. We love your kids. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrink Wrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride.